Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Dog Walk, the almost daily, uncut, unedited, one-take show where I take my dogs out for a walk, discuss whatever's been on my mind, and I record this in a one-take, unedited fashion because I think that's the only way to be authentic. There's too much fake on YouTube, too much scripting, too much self-filtering. I want to represent myself as I truly am so that my son can get a true glimpse into my mind, and that means also exposing my warts, my flaws, and my hesitations. If you want to jump straight to the topic, I will be putting timestamps down in the description, so make sure that you use those to go to whatever portion of the video interests you. But before that, I'll just mention that I wasn't actually planning on recording today, so my thoughts may be a little bit chaotic. I was planning to take a little mental health break as I've been working a lot on subtitles in preparation for my trip to China. But as I came out, I saw this fog and said, I thought I can't miss this occasion like I did last time. I have to record because the atmosphere is pretty darn cool, if you ask me. Unfortunately, Daisy decided not to join us today. I don't know why she didn't want to come out. Like, it's not cold or anything, but she chose, as soon as I took her out, she wanted to go back in. So instead of forcing her and dragging her the entire way, I guess she gets a pass for tonight, and it's just me and Mistra. Speaking of my trip to China, it's coming up very, very soon. As I said yesterday, by a week from now, actually, we'll be getting ready to get on the airplane pretty soon. So I've been scrambling to prepare all these videos for my absence. I noticed that if I continue on my current pace, I actually will be able to fill the entire month-long gap while I am gone in China with videos by posting one every other day as opposed to posting daily. But that also means that I really don't expect that I'll have time to put in all the timestamps and edit the subtitles and everything as usual before that deadline. So I hope that you will be patient with me and understanding as I post these videos, but eventually work to catch up on the cards and all of that stuff. Okay, enough with the useless chatter. Let's get on to the main topic. I thought, since I didn't really have anything planned, that I would get back to discussing education as I've been doing in the last few videos, simply because I have about 8 major headings that I've written down of things that I want to talk about. So that's a lot of content, but I have to give you a warning though that because I didn't really plan the talk for today, I might meander in a different direction than I originally thought. So let's hope this ride still makes sense and is still worthwhile for you though. So, education, right? I've already discussed a lot about it. I invite you to watch my previous videos and following ones, because this definitely won't be the last. But I thought that today I would discuss fairness in education. I want to work my way towards eventually what I think the future education system should look like. You know, how do we get away from this very industrial education system that we currently employ, as I mentioned in the first videos. And just like in my talk about the economy and government and how we should use modern mathematical and online tools in order to perhaps make some improvements to our geographically bound democratic system, I think that we should also start to use the same type of tools to modernize our education. And that's already started. So the first thing I want to talk about today is the use of video in order to increase the quality of teaching. I sort of wanted to link this to asking the basic question of, is education fair? Is education really a meritocracy? You know, is that person who earned the scholarship to Yale, or who ends up getting their PhD or whatever it is, like, are they really that much smarter? Did they really merit it more than someone who didn't have that chance? Or is it just, a pure luck, pure happenstance? And obviously, I do think there is some merit to, if you're able to reach the PhD level, you definitely did something right. Sorry, Misa is just doing a little bit of business on the side. Let me pause and resume once I've taken care of it. Okay, so as I was saying, obviously someone who gets a PhD or a scholarship did deserve it. But I'm going to argue that perhaps someone else deserved it better, and that there is a huge factor of luck and not meritocracy that comes into play when it comes to education. I think for most people that's intuitively obvious, but I'll spell it out a little bit just in case and to make sure we're all on the same page. So first thing, let's say you are born in a situation where you need to take care of your family financially. Well, that will likely reduce the amount of attention that you can pay to school, and perhaps even prevent you from... What do you see, Mr.? Is there something there? Possibly even prevent you from actually attending school in the first place. I really don't see anything, Mr. Come on, let's go, Mr. Whoa! Mr. Come on! I don't know what she sees, but I don't want to find out. She's so strong, sometimes she chokes herself just by pulling. So yeah, obviously, you know, the financial situation can change. But even at a more subtle level than that, your financial situation for most people will dictate what public school you go to. And not every school is created equal. So that's the first level where there's some inequality right off the bat. And that can bring it... Oh, do I want to talk about this first? No, I'll keep going with this thought, and then I'll come back to Malcolm Gladwell. So that can also... That's not just at the school level, right? If you dig down one way, you'll see that even if you're within the same school, having the right teacher, or the better teacher, can drastically change the course of your education, especially when you're at a young age. And when I say the right teacher, notice I didn't use the word good or bad teacher, because obviously there are good and bad teachers, but also just the style of teaching, the personality of the teacher. I'm sure you've all had this experience, and I know I have in university, where there was some teachers that I really, really, really didn't like the way they taught, and I learned almost nothing in their classes. But some of my classmates, they were their quote-unquote best teacher ever, and vice versa, right? So it's not just about being a good or a bad teacher, it's being able to adapt or to have a compatible style with your pupils. So that, especially at a young age, can drastically alter whether you'll be quote-unquote a good student or a bad student, right? If your first grade teacher labels you as a bad apple, and that then gets carried on into the second grade, where you get put into the special ed class or whatever it is, or the delinquent class, and or vice versa. If they think you're a good student and you get better placement, etc., and that just compounds and compounds and compounds over time. Same thing can be true if you, instead of drilling down from the school to the teacher level, you drill up, right? School districts and school boards are very different. Here in Ottawa, we've got, I think it's three or four different public school boards. You've got just a regular public school board. You've got the regular French public school board. You've got the Catholic English school board. And you've got the French Catholic school board. And all of those have very drastically different programs and qualities of education and budget and number of teachers, its resources, etc. So, again, going that way can drastically change your education outcome. Even further than that, especially down in the States, but even in Canada, what province or what state you're born in can also drastically change how far you'll make it in education, right? Compare the curriculum in Alabama to the curriculum in New York, and that's all I say because I don't want to belabor what should be an obvious point, right? So, right off from the bat, it's not fair. Furthermore, that's not even taking into account private versus public schools, right? So if you happen to be in a situation where your parents are financially able to send you to live in a district or in a location where you've got a good public school, that'll drastically alter your outcome compared to if you live in a lower income district, and even more if you're if your parents are financially able to send you to a private school, right? So all of that should be very obvious. In fact, I said I would go back to Malcolm Gladwell. Misa, what do you smell there? Come on. He actually, I think it's in the book Freakonomics. It might have been in Super Freakonomics or Blink, or I don't know. I've read a lot of his books. But he actually did... so actually, that's not Malcolm Gladwell. That's Stephen Levitt. Oh, so my apologies. Yeah, because Freakonomics wasn't written by Malcolm Gladwell. It was the one I'm thinking of is Stephen Levitt, and there's another author, another Stephen, whose last name escapes me right now. Anyway, look up Freakonomics. But they did a statistical study of hockey players in North America. Now, things have changed a little bit because there's a lot more foreign players, especially from Europe nowadays. But at the time where most hockey players were from North America, and don't quote me on the exact numbers, but there was a significant statistical distribution to the point where people who were born in January represented at some point something like 60 or 70% of the entire NHL. And that makes no sense, right? If you just look at it at the surface level, there should be about 1/12 of people from each month in the NHL, right? That just makes sense. But he argued that no, because of the way the hockey system is made in Canada, the cutoff was for the year in which, like, what age group you play in was in January, at the start of the new year. So what that meant was that people born in January, when they started hockey, had 11 months of development, mental and physical development. Like, they were 11 months older than the people in their same age group, quote unquote, who were born in December. Well, when you're a small child, I'm sure you'll agree that 11 months is a huge difference. So what that meant was that those players were recognized as being better just because they were faster, stronger, bigger, because they had lived when you're 6 years old, 11 months is what, 15% of your life, right? So 15% more development. So that means that they got more ice time. Because they got more ice time, they got more actual practice with the game. Because of that, they were recognized as better, which meant that the following year they made better teams and they got accepted into better programs, and etc., etc. I'm sure you see where I'm going with this, and all of that compounds to the point where by the time you made it to the elite, the NHL, something like 60 to 70% of players were born in January or February. That's nuts when you think about it. That's totally unfair to the poor kid who was born in December and who could have been the next Gretzky or Lemieux or Crosby or whoever you want to, Connor Bedard, but who was just born in the wrong month. And we'll just never know how good they could have been because our program disadvantaged them right from the start. I see our education system as the exact same way, and I'm sure you're smart enough yourself to draw the parallel between the example I just used for hockey and everything I just said beforehand for the school system, right? So that, I guess, I wasn't planning on it, but that was a very long tirade on what's wrong and unfair, and why perhaps those who make it to higher education levels or who get encouraged to pursue a career in engineering or things like that, it's not a fair distribution. And they do have some merit, but if your daddy can pay your way into a better school or buy your university entrance to Harvard or whatever it is, well, it's pretty obvious what kind of advantage that gives you, right? And I don't think that having quotas on bursaries or scholarships to say, you have to have this many African Americans or indigenous or whatever it is, right? Or women, or right? I don't think that quotas, like, it helps put a bandaid on the problem in the short term, but I don't think that's a long-term fix. That's not a long-term solution to the inherent systemic inequalities that exist. And yes, you can make it if you work hard enough, but it's so much harder. And I've talked about this beforehand, right? The whole so we should stop trying to pull those who have the advantage down to the level of the lowest common denominator. What I truly believe is, and as I said in that other video, and I hope I expressed it correctly then, I believe that those people who don't have the advantage should be pulled up by those who have it. So how do we do that when it comes to education? Well, a very easy way and a very good example of that is Harvard and Stanford online. If you've ever been on YouTube, or I forget the name of their specific proprietary online platforms, but these universities, who are among the best universities in the world, have now decided to post full-length academic courses that are taught to their own students for free online. Like, isn't that amazing? Aren't we lucky to live in an age where even if you grew up in, I don't know, in Zimbabwe, whatever, it doesn't matter, a random country, you can still have access to a Harvard lecture or course without even leaving your country, without needing to go through all the hoops to get that, that one scholarship that they're giving out that will pay your entire way, right? So that's crazy. That's amazing. That's pulling those who don't have the advantage up to the level of those who do have the advantage. So why don't we expand that? Why are we not recording the best possible teachers at every single grade level and using that as a starting point to normalize and regularize education everywhere? So that instead of having the crappy teacher in first grade that sets you down the wrong path, you have the best possible teacher in first grade and at every grade, and you could even change, right? If you don't like the style of one specific type of recording, you can try the other one and see if that one works better for you, for your style of learning, right? And so why don't we do that? Why don't we take the best and make it available to everyone? It's not like it costs a lot of money to record someone. And in fact, especially in Canada, like, I'm sure it's the same in the States, but right now there's this big debate or big issue, constant strikes by teachers because they're not paid enough, the classes are too big, they can't keep up with all the students, all of that stuff, right? We're lacking in human resources to teach our children. So what do you think costs more? A video that you record once and that all you need is a little bit of data to play to everyone, or a teacher, regardless of whether they're a good teacher or a bad teacher, for every single child? Yes, that is a rhetorical question. Obviously, the first option costs less, right? So, again, let's leverage technology and let's make that better. And then we could use, in my mind, in the future, we would use AI to then provide sort of the one-on-one tutoring to answer the question from the student, right, who doesn't quite understand the way it was stated in the video. But even without using AI, maybe that's where you put your teachers, right, your actual humans. So instead of having, and this is I think it's a military term, but it's used outside of the military also, instead of having the man in the loop or the person in the loop. I keep saying man, I'm sorry, I'm old, it's a speech habit. Every time I say man, you probably understand I mean person or human or whatever it is. I'm not trying to be sexist. It's just how I talk. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to be conscious about it, but it just slips out automatically. So, yeah, instead of having the person in the loop, have the person over the loop. So the teacher isn't teaching every single lesson, but the teacher is constantly available to answer direct questions from every student at their grade level at all times. So now one teacher can manage so many more students because the burden is not on them to do everything. And I said videos and recording, but obviously I'm sure you can see how that can be expanded to, have automatic tests and automated grading and everything to remove all the burden from the teacher so that the teacher can concentrate on the human one-on-one interaction directly with the students, as opposed to being there constantly to have to do everything. Just that, I think, would improve our education system so much. It's crazy the effects that we can have. And as I said, eventually you take that further and you incorporate AI, and wham bam, now all of a sudden you might not even need the human teachers anymore. I mean, I've been very vocal in many other videos how I think that within a generation or two, AI will have rendered humans obsolete for every job that we currently have, and maybe I want to readdress that topic, because I'm not trying to say that that's the death of all human productivity. There's ways we can reinvent ourselves. To steal the thunder from that future video, think about it, right? Yes, everyone likes mass-produced stuff, but people are still willing, even today, to pay a huge premium extra for something that was handcrafted, handmade by an artisan, or using traditional techniques or this or that. So it's not like these would all disappear. It's just we need to reinvent ourselves. But sorry, that's completely off topic for education. So yeah, I truly believe that by recording our best teachers and having that made available to all our students, we can level the playing field. We can bring all the people who are disadvantaged or who don't have the favors, the economic situation, the whatever it is, the home life that those of us with privilege have, we can bring them to our level. Let's pull them up, and let's stop trying to push our privileged people down. Let's pull everyone up together. Yeah, that was kind of almost I guess a self-contained talk. I'm not sure how far, if I want to start to introduce another topic, because it's already been 20-something minutes, 25 minutes. And yeah, I think that actually this is where I'm gonna stop for today. There's a lot more I need to talk about education, because I think the next step that I want to talk about is how do we incentivize kids to actually want to learn, right? And as a preview, I think we need to gamify learning. But anyway, I think that's it. What do you think of this idea? Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks, and have a good evening.